Bolivia, social and union movements continue to mobilise and block main roads and highways on the 10th consecutive day of the general strike. The International Labour Organization has stressed that the disproportionate effect of the COVID-19 pandemic on young people has aggravated inequalities. Israel launched yet another attack on the Gaza Strip early Wednesday morning. From the headquarters of Telesur English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South, I'm Katrina Goss. We begin in Bolivia, where social and union movements continue to mobilise and block main roads and highways on the 10th consecutive day of the general strike. Bolivians have reiterated their rejection of the postponement of the general elections to October. Protesters are demanding that the authorities and the Supreme Electoral Tribunal comply with the previous agreement reached to hold the elections on September 6. They're also calling for the resignation of the de facto government of Denis Núñez, which has issued threats against them, and a return to peace and democracy in the country. Far-right Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro has denied that fires in the Amazon have increased under his government, despite the evidence. During a video conference with leaders of other countries that also host the largest tropical rainforest in the world, Bolsonaro claimed the accusations are part of a campaign against him.
Compared with July of last year, we registered a 28% decrease in deforestation or burnings in the region this July. But even so, we are criticized. After all, Brazil is a power in agribusiness. Threats against us exist all the time. And unfortunately, some Brazilians work against us on this issue. Because it is a rainforest, it does not catch fire. So this story that the Amazon is burning is a lie. And we must fight it with real numbers. And that is what we are doing here in Brazil.
The governor of the Brazilian state of Sao Paulo, João Doria, has announced that he tested positive for COVID-19.
I have just received my 6th COVID-19 test, and this one, unfortunately, was positive. I have coronavirus. I am absolutely asymptomatic. I feel fine. I'm going home. I'm going to follow the medical protocol, the guidance of Dr. David Hui. I take this opportunity to ask you, who are in your home, to protect yourself and also follow the health protocols. All this will end. The vaccine will arrive and Brazil will have a new moment free of coronavirus. Until then, we have to face this, follow the protocol and obey the healthcare system.
And Brazil continues to be the second hardest hit country by the novel coronavirus pandemic in the world. To date, health authorities have reported over 3.1 million confirmed cases and more than 100,000 deaths. Nearly 55,000 cases were confirmed in the last 24 hours alone. In Chile, several activists held a rally east of the capital, Santiago, in support of the Mapuche community. The rally took place in the main square of the municipality of Ñuñoa. Demonstrators praised the resistance of indigenous Mapuche communities and stressed that they will continue to support their demands. They also called for the release of Mapuche political prisoners who've been on hunger strike for over 100 days. Jamaica reported 16 new COVID-19 cases within the last 24 hours, bringing a total number of confirmed cases to 1,047. Jamaican authorities also reported 8 additional recoveries, bringing a total to over 750. Health authorities are currently monitoring 219 active cases. The authorities have stressed that everyone should be vigilant in the practice of prevention and control measures to curb the spread of the virus, including frequent hand washing, maintaining a distance from others, and wearing a mask when in public. St. Lucia's Ministry of Health and Wellness has reported an increase in dengue cases. Most of the patients suffering from this mosquito-borne virus are concentrated in the northern, central and eastern parts of the island, although there are cases reported all over the country. Dengue fever is endemic to St. Lucia, meaning that there is continued local transmission, which often peaks during and after the rainy season. Testing is available across the country, and the Ministry of Health and Wellness has urged the population to seek care at their nearest wellness centre should they experience any symptoms.
Every year. It is something that we record throughout the years. The Ministry of Health and Wellness continues to note significant increases in the reported cases of dengue in St. Lucia. And this is particularly concerning as we have recorded both serotypes 2 and 3 to date and have noted quite a few infections in children. Most of the reported cases are in the northern, central, and eastern parts of the island, areas such as Redwi, the Mon Road, Castries City, Millet, and Richford, among other areas. Cases have also been reported in the south and in the west of the island, but to a much lesser extent.
Prime Minister of St Kitts and Nevis, Timothy Harris, announced the reopening of the country's borders for international tourism in October.
It is still committed to St Kitts and Nevis. A new general manager has arrived on island recently, and I gather that she will be the one to guide the operations forward. COI has advised that it has been in touch with Hilton, and it will reopen in the last quarter of 2020. Park Hyatt is expected to open fully in October 2020, providing work to its 180 employees. I am pleased, however, to learn that its Fisherman's Village restaurant is already open for business. The Royal St. Kitts Hotel is functioning, albeit in a reduced capacity.
Now we'll be right back after this short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. According to a study carried out by the International Labour Organization, the disproportionate effect of the pandemic on young people has aggravated inequalities and risks reducing the productive potential of an entire generation. The ILO study highlights that since the outset of the pandemic, more than 70% of youth who study or combine study with work have been adversely affected by the closing of schools, universities and training centres. According to the report, 65% of young people reported having learned less since the beginning of the pandemic because of the transition from classroom to online and distance learning during lockdown. The situation has been even worse for youth living in lower income countries who have less access to the internet, a lack of equipment and sometimes a lack of space at home. The survey was conducted in 112 countries among 12,000 young people between the ages of 18 and 29. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres told the Security Council this Wednesday that member states' commitment to sustaining peace is more urgent than ever in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic.
The pandemic threatens not only hard-won development and peace-building gains, but also risks exacerbating conflicts or fomenting new ones. Questions are growing about the effectiveness of health systems, social services, trust in institutions and systems of governance. All of this means that our commitment to sustaining peace is more urgent than ever. COVID-19 is a human tragedy, but we can mitigate the impact by the choices we make. More than ever, multidimensional, coordinated and conflict-sensitive responses and all-of-society approaches are crucial. They are key to ensuring that peace-building and sustaining peace initiatives go hand in hand with inclusive and sustainable development, anchored in the protection and promotion of human rights, gender equality, and the commitment to leave no one behind. The world is looking to all leaders, including the Council, to address the epic crisis in ways that make a concrete, meaningful and positive contribution to the lives of people.
The CEO of the Russian Direct Investment Fund, which financed the Russian vaccine development project, has noted that international cooperation is vital to the development, production and distribution of the recently approved Russian COVID-19 vaccine.
We believe that nations should work together so data will be shared. And we believe that artificial barriers to knowledge or really unfair competition is just negative for the world. And I think we've seen too many examples of attempts to do unfair competition, to tarnish reputation of Russian vaccine, of Chinese vaccine recently. And those are very negative steps. I think they are not moving us forward in the fight against COVID.
The president of the Philippines has expressed his trust in the COVID-19 vaccine approved by Russia and noted that he will be among the first to have the shot once available.
Maligaya ako.
I'm very happy because our friend Russia, they will give us a vaccine. They didn't say that we have to pay. I think it's a help for us by President Putin for free. That's why we are accepting it, although we still need to discuss how many will be the supply and how much we need. There will be a clinical studies for that. We will inject it to some people and we'll look at the result. You will be given the vaccine and we'll see what will be the reaction of your body, if it will accept it or it will reject it. So there will be volunteers. Once the vaccine arrives, I will have myself get inoculated in public. I will be the first to get experimented on with the vaccine. I will tell President Putin that I have a huge trust in your studies in combating COVID and I believe the vaccine that you have produced is really good for humanity.
The Spanish city of Zaragoza is setting up a new field hospital and quarantine area to treat COVID-19 patients as regional health authorities prepare for a possible second wave of infections. The region of Aragon has reported the highest COVID-19 numbers in Spain over the past 7 days, with 242 patients admitted to hospitals and 32 deaths. On Wednesday, Spanish army troops began setting up a field hospital in the parking lot of another hospital following a request by the local government. The field hospital is expected to be ready to receive patients by Friday.
There are 20 spaces for women and 40 places for men in 2 separate areas. We have also created offices and storage space, showers, lockers. These are separate rooms, although as you can see, these are separate as it gets. We got a lot more than what we expected in the beginning. We have got a lot more for the people that are going to have to spend 15 days here, so they could be as comfortable as possible.
The British Chancellor said Wednesday that the employment picture in the United Kingdom was difficult, with hundreds of thousands of jobs lost and many more expected to go in the wake of the novel coronavirus pandemic.
Well, the employment picture, as I've said, is difficult. Hundreds of thousands of people have already lost their jobs. Many more will. That is incredibly sad. And why it's so important that we focus on trying to help those people, which is why we outlined our plan for jobs in July to support, protect and create jobs across the United Kingdom. And whether it's through the job retention bonus, whether it's through initiatives like Eat Out to Help Out or the Kickstart scheme for young people or new apprenticeship incentives, I want to provide people with new opportunities.
In Scotland, students went back to school for the first time in 5 months on Tuesday as leaders across the UK pushed to reopen schools despite an increase in the number of COVID-19 cases. The Scottish Government ordered students to gradually begin returning to school this week, with all classes set to fully resume by next Tuesday. In England, the government continues to insist that classes will begin in early September, despite fears expressed by teachers over safety. The reopenings come as the United Kingdom, which has recorded the highest COVID-19 death toll in Europe at more than 46,000, could be witnessing the start of a second wave of infections. Three people died when a passenger train derailed in north-east Scotland on Wednesday in what First Minister Nicola Sturgeon described as an extremely serious incident. The crash, close to the town of Stonehaven, around 25 kilometres south of Aberdeen, followed severe flooding across parts of the region overnight.
This is clearly a very, very tragic incident, and my thoughts first of all go out to the families, the friends, all those who've been involved in what's happened today. We're still waiting for a clearer picture in terms of the numbers of those involved, indeed numbers who may have lost their lives as well, and keeping a very close contact with the investigators on all those grounds.
In Mauritius, authorities are warning that a grounded Japanese-owned oil ship could split in two at any moment, with cracks in the hull growing larger every day. The vessel ran aground on a coral reef last month and began leaking oil last week. A team of United Nations experts has arrived in Mauritius to support efforts to prevent the oil spill from further damaging its previously pristine environment. Japan has also dispatched a 6-member team, including members of its Coast Guard, to assist the clean-up efforts. According to Prime Minister Pravin Jugnauth, almost all the oil on the ship, thought to be carrying some 4,000 tonnes of fuel, has been pumped out. And we have more news coming up after this final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Israel launched yet another attack on the Gaza Strip early Wednesday morning. Israeli military aircraft launched 4 missiles on an agricultural area south of the city of Rafah. Another missile attack was launched at a Hamas facility to the south of Gaza City. Simultaneously, Israeli artillery made several strikes close to the Al Bureij refugee camp in the centre of the Gaza Strip. In Belarus, police forces arrested the coordinator of violent riots that started in Minsk on Sunday after the presidential election. Authorities reported that the detainee issued orders to another 3 people, and together they were responsible for coordinating the acts of hundreds of protesters. The demonstrations in Minsk broke out after current President Alexander Lukashenko was declared the winner of the presidential election on Sunday night, having secured over 80% of the vote for what will be his 6th consecutive presidential term. 1 person was killed and more than 200 injured during the protests. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani has stressed he believes that a US bid to extend the UN arms embargo on his country will fail, but warned of consequences if the UN Security Council backs the move.
Now the US has proposed a resolution against this part of Resolution 2231 to violate it. We have great hope that America will fail. We have great hope that yet again America will realize its failure and see its isolation. But our stance in any situation is clear. If such a resolution comes to pass at the United Nations against a part of Resolution 2231, it means a blatant violation of the JCPOA. Its consequences will rest with the perpetrators of this act, those who are trying for this.
And President Rouhani's remarks came after Iran's ambassador to the United Nations said the US would have to redraft its proposed resolution on the issue after it was rebuffed by Security Council members. The ban on selling arms to Iran is set to be progressively eased from October under the terms of Resolution 2231, endorsing the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action known as the Iran Nuclear Deal. Under the agreement, Iran committed to limit its nuclear program in exchange for sanctions relief. And Iran's foreign minister has stressed that the resolution proposed by the United States to extend the UN arms embargo is illegal. Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif said that the resolution uses the Security Council's own mechanisms to weaken the UN body. He highlighted that the United States does not have the legal authority to use the dispute resolution mechanism to reimpose international sanctions against Iran without prior negotiations. Security Council diplomats said that the final draft of the resolution could be presented on Thursday and voted on this Friday.
This is a very illegal resolution and, in fact, uses the mechanism of the Security Council to destroy the Security Council. I'm sure that this resolution will also be rejected.
Thousands of people have been evacuated from the South Sudanese town of Bor due to strong floods caused by heavy rains. The rainfall has affected the state of Jonglei, forcing thousands of people to leave their homes and causing serious economic damages. The Secretary General of the state explained that young people in the region have been organised to help in the rescue and recovery efforts and are working to build temporary dams. No deaths due to the floods have been reported.
Bo Town is a home of 150,000 people in Bo Town. This is the population here. As you can see, there's no dry location here. The entire town, or most estates of the Bo Town, they are pretty much underwater. What we have been doing as a government of the state, we have been mobilizing youth in the state here in Bo Town to help almost 500 houses in Bo Town. They are completely destroyed. And most of the properties that include people, food, and even the animals, they are also at risk as well. So this is a real challenge.
Gold sales in the United Arab Emirates have recovered their pre-pandemic level as COVID-19 figures decline and the wedding season sees many foreigners purchase large amounts of jewellery. Dubai has the largest gold and jewellery market in the Middle East and saw a surge in gold sales early this year as uncertainty grew over the escalating tensions between the United States and Iran. The United Arab Emirates sold around 9.5 tonnes of gold between January and March. However, the amount sold in the April to June period dropped to 1.3 tonnes as gold markets were closed due to the COVID-19 outbreak.
The marriage season is a very important season for the bridal to give away the dowry. So that will continue. The party has stopped, but the actual gifting has not stopped, and these are all still good for business. Individual buyer, they would like to save some money on cash in gold, so they buy 100 gram or 50 gram or 20 gram or 200 grams. So no, it's quite popular.
And we've come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesoenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. For Teleso English, I'm Katrina Goss, and thank you for watching.